Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Pivoted Success Podcast, hosted by our friend Sean Cochran of TCC Canada and myself, Jared Goldsmith of eSAX. I'm very pleased to invite and welcome our friend and fellow entrepreneur, Jenn Hayward.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I already took over the conversation.
No problem.
Jenn Hayward from Gopher at Deliveries.
There we go. So, Jenn, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, Sean, would you like to say a few words, perhaps?
Sure, yeah. So thanks for joining us, Jen. And again, thanks everybody for listening. It's great for us to be here to help showcase some of these pivoted stories and success that's to come out of this awful pandemic that we have to deal with. So Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself and what Gopher It does.
Okay, well, Gopher It is, we're a courier company if you want to break it down, but we're actually now a logistics dynasty, but we're a logistics company. We started our business 4 years ago. My husband and I both lost our jobs within the same week of each other after I had just finished a surgery. And so we actually pivoted 4 years before this even happened. We have 3 high needs kids and couldn't hold our jobs down because we're continuing to get calls, dealing with garage doors being punched in, all the fun stuff, right? So we said, well, what can we do that we can use my experience in the justice system and strategic planning, all the things, and that my husband will do what I tell him. And so we had a car and we said, let's do this. We started Gopher It, no idea what we were doing, but we just.
When was that, Jen? When did you start it?
2016 was our first year, but we went really slow at the beginning. I went away for 7 weeks. I was like, that's how I'm going to deal with job loss. I was accepted into a leadership program out in Halifax. And we started slowly, and I remember our first couple of days, we had 3 clients and we do 3 or 4 deliveries a day all over the city for my base price. And my husband says, this isn't a good business model. And I said, build it and they will come. I said, you can't start making money as a courier until you have more people on the road, and you can't have more people until you have more business. So suck it up and go drive. And so that's what we did. And so that's how our company's evolved through, I guess we're doing this now. Like, it was never like, woohoo, but what we've managed to do is to create a really good work culture. We've created a difference in what we're doing because we happened to choose a business that had a really low standard. So that it's like when I married my husband, he'd been married before and it wasn't a good marriage. So I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be better than the first one, right? And so that's how we started.
Well, because I can only imagine the competition you had, right? There's UPS, Canada Post, and X number of...
Well, it's interesting because there's no one who is really dedicated to local businesses. And it all came from, I come from Saskatchewan. Everything at that time was, in Saskatoon was a 10-minute drive away. So supporting local is easy. And Darpan from Manatech Natural Market was my first customer, because I thought there are people who cannot get out there to support her. But she would, and she would be spending tons of money on UPS, FedEx, all those things. So it's almost like we had a vision before we had the vision. And so, and then we've evolved, but now we do multiple things, which we'll talk about, but that's essentially who it is. And I'm just, Jen, I'm a stand-up comic. I write for CBC Radio and I run a logistics company. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, it sounds like you've grown a lot, mostly organically, but that work culture that you talked about is key. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're a 5,000 person business or a 2-person business. It's how people interact and engage and feel like part of the community. What would you say the community aspect, like how do you train that or promote that to your staff?
Well, I think it comes from, one, who I am. So I'm an Indigenous woman who's voted NDP her entire life, right? So if you're going to start off as a democratic socialist, you're going to have a good work culture. We'll talk about learning about profit later and the pendulum swing, but it's something we always wanted to because we'd never had employees before. So we knew what bad employment looked like, right? I worked for the government long enough. I know what bad employment looked like. Sorry, people, but there are bad managers in government. It happens. And I've seen lateral violence. I've seen everything. And I said, I want this to be a good experience. And so we'd have a couple staff and we'd want everyone to feel good. And so for us, our messaging was different so our work culture came from, we know that no one grew up wanting to be a courier. We just know that, right? We're here because organically, this is how this is what we're doing now. Let's make the most of it. And so that's what we did. So honestly, the first 2 staff that we hired were other comedians, because this was a way for them to work while they, were still pursuing their dreams and passions. And so they wouldn't be coming to work grumpy because we'd work out. You don't have to, you need to miss a show. I understand. So set your own hours. We'll work this. We also, at the time, we're only working with an employment model rather than independent contractor. We've now pivoted to do both for lots of good reasons. And because I thought I knew better, but then you get enough people crashing your vehicles and you're like, maybe you want to get your own. And so, that's where we started with it. But it's just little things, right? Yesterday we woke up, the board was off like crazy. It was like we woke up to the same numbers we did at Christmas time, and we didn't expect it. It's February 4th. And I'll tell you in a second why that's so exciting. But on this note, I was like, there's just no way. The girls are good, but this isn't insane because we have less staff. We have less. By 4:00, the board was clear. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I sent them some Starbucks steaks. I'm working from home. And sometimes it's those little things, that gratitude and respect and transparency and honesty. And I think everyone knows, you know what? You may not be the best driver, but if you have a good heart, you're willing. And, like I have a guy who can't drive cupcakes to save his life. He just cannot make it to the door safely. So we have him doing commercial work because now we have other things. But I'll tell you.
It's putting staff where you think or their skills would be most appreciated.
Absolutely. And, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. But I'll tell you why I was so excited the last few days to see the board like this. When we talk about our on-demand board, it's our local people. So that's local businesses. And that means that it's not that, yes, we've gotten a lot more business, but it means people are shopping local, they're supporting local, and we're seeing it. So,
this is a case model for the local movement because you're promoting, you're an absolutely local business. Yeah. And the more busy you get, it means that other businesses are picking up as well. And that's
their success is our success. That's our motto, right? Like if you're not selling anything, that's great. You're a part of our system. But it's also, we also need our national partners how I just saw an article how Skip, or one of those third-party restaurant apps, they basically subsidize McDonald's and the big guys by charging more to the local people. And so, but we almost have the opposite, is that the fact that we have our national partners means we have more people on the road, so we don't have to increase the price. Because if I didn't have as many drivers as I do, I'd have to charge more because we'd be zigzagging all over. So, so everyone has their value, but I get so excited about the on-demand board. Because that means, and I'll tell you, if there was any industry to bet on in 2021, it's plants. We are delivering 60 to 80 plants a day, every day. And I made a joke on Facebook about this, and people started sending me pictures of their living room. And I guess that's how people are keeping happy. I'm not a plant person. I don't get it. And I joked that someone sent me cuttings of their plants. I was like, what do you want me to do with it? And they're like, grow it. You'll be happy. And I was like, I don't think this is the answer. I prefer antidepressants, but you do you. Yeah. Sorry. No COVID, just hopping.
I love the technique, though, of hiring other comedians in the beginning to get things going. Because, I mean, really, it's about finding the people in the first place that you can count on, first of all, but having a bit of flexibility. We had to do
rarely can you count on a comedian, so we chose the right ones. But honestly, we had a mix of artists, other entrepreneurs who are pursuing their dreams, students, seniors, like not seniors, but you can lift a box. The whole point was we want you to have a life. We want balance. Now, no one can have a life, but we want to see balance out there, and we want when you're at work, we want you happy.
So, talking about not having a life, when the world stopped back in March 2020, how was Gopher It affected by COVID? What happened?
It was a very interesting time because, one, we had just got back from vacation, and because. Yeah, so we got back from our 20th anniversary, and everyone was talking about this COVID thing. And I remember us sort of making fun of someone in the airport who's wearing a mask. And I'm like, that's not necessary. And then boom, the world shut down. What happened was we had 4 in our management team. We had a strategic plan that we were implementing, and 2 of our managers left as soon as they were able to. And it was very telling for us because our managers could work from home. But we said, we don't want anyone at work who doesn't want to be there, because the fear and the psychology behind it. So we said, anyone who wants a note, you get a note, right? You can be laid off. Well, we got, a lot of people, but I mean, anyone who had an elderly person in their life, or the fear was so big. So we lost about half our staff, and we tripled our business. But this is not a good thing. This was not a happy story. This was Jenn crying under her desk. So a couple things happened. One, we didn't have the capacity in our office. So I'm back to working 120 hours a week. Most of our bulk the first month came from one large client who I'm not going to name because they don't need any business. And I think Jared knows where that story will go later. But and it was a real lesson to us in why we like local so much. This company had the exact same problem we did, where half their workforce walked out, but it was such a large one. And then they started having issues and things like that. Well, they shut their helpline down. And so their customers had nowhere to go. So they would have got the thing that we deliver before, and would just no go for it because, if they see our name on it. So they're calling us. And so now I'm also counseling their customers who are like crying because they're autoimmune and don't have vegetables. So now we're out buying vegetables for people. And like, that's who we are, right? So if someone's in need, we'll do it. And so it was a different kind of stress. So then we also said, we're going to help as many people as we can. So we boom, St. Mary's, we're just going to deliver for the food bank. We're going to do Bethany Hope, for half price. We're going to do whatever we can. We're going to help as many small businesses as we can. But we didn't have capacity to track invoicing, all those things. We have a nice system and everything. And some of the businesses went under, chasing down people. So we actually lost a lot of money in that 3 months, even though I've never been busier.
What was that, because your clients didn't have the funds to cover it or went out of business themselves?
Or people just didn't pay, or I'm a bad record keeper, or there's a lot of things. We just didn't have capacity because there's 2 of us doing the job of 8 people. It was insane. So that was the first hump. And then, as things opened, so we had been working, and of course, so June was a very busy month, and we did serve a lot of people, and we were very happy. We also did the Indigenous solstice. So we were able to help, lots of Indigenous entrepreneurs, which of course, near and dear to me as an Indigenous woman. So all these things were happening. And so we were like, okay, you know what, if, this is our calling. Let's do this. We're going to help as many people as we can, but let's take a breath after June, because July is going to slow down. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Let's get capacity again. And an opportunity came to grow the way we wanted to. We would need a larger space and a space. So we got a lease. And after we had done such great service, like we were able to put out 15,000 boxes a week at 99.97% accuracy. I'm kidding you not. They checked that stuff. And a week after we signed our lease, we were blindsided that they weren't using us anymore. It was insane. Like, it was like okay. And, it's was weird because I said, well, where are they going to go? They had slowly built their own internal workforce. Oh. And so, it's weird because I had always told them, like, honesty and transparency. If you ever want to stop using us, let me know. I'm always going to be, because they were worried.
Some advance notice would have been nice.
Right. So we had to lay 14 people off that day, people that we had hired back, all the rest. So we were like, oh crap. So my husband and I sat there and said, like, how in the largest growing field in a COVID pandemic, and we're going to go bankrupt? Like, is this what's going to happen? Because we literally put all our eggs in one basket. And that only happened because it was all organic. We went from 0 to 800 just with this customer alone. And they took every moment of my time. So we kept saying, we're going to diversify. We're going to get another person, and then COVID. And then there you go. But I sat my husband down, who really didn't know how the finances were, things like that. And I'll tell you, I didn't really know how the finances were because, like I said, like, it's better if you just don't look at those things. And this is not a how-to, by the way, everyone, to start a business. And I sat him down. I said, well, we have three options right now, right? One is we can try and get out of this lease and do what we can there and shut down the business. Two, we can declare bankruptcy. Basically, that would be the part one. Part two, we can try and negotiate and do something else. Or three, just all in. And so we said, well, all in. And so we all sort of moved to different places. So there was just still two of us managers. I put her on fix my finances assignment because that was an issue. I had been embezzled from, I'm a little trusting on my first year of business with a bookkeeper, and that remittance stuff definitely caught up with us. And so there was just a lot of little things to do. And in the last 7 months, which, we didn't think we'd make it past October. And now we're thriving. We definitely had some really big challenges that came up with rent. I can't even tell you here yet. It'll be another story for another day. And we're going to make it for sure. We got a 3-part plan, but I'm telling you, that's how COVID affected us, is that it has been a roller coaster. We don't celebrate the lockdown and go, oh, hey, maybe we'll get more business. Not at all, because those are our friends. Those are our people. And to be honest, the people shutting down, we'd get their business anyway for deliveries, right? Just because more people want deliveries. But where we have positioned ourselves is now, I'm now a seasoned CEO. I know what I'm doing now to some degree, as in I talked to my lawyer. I even talked to my accountant today. And he said, like, who are you? He says, like, you are coming up with metrics and things. Because now that I'm not doing everything, I can actually sit back, think, get high at night and come up with creative ideas like I'm doing the things CEO should. It's still stressful and we're still working hard, but we're actually moving to a model where I get at least a day off a week, if not two.
That's so many important points there.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Sorry if I covered all your questions in one.
Oh, no problem. This is fantastic. I mean, just off the cuff and just go with it. One of the things I like to chat about is, like, everybody in entrepreneurship needs to know what they're good at, what they want to do, and maybe outsource or send other people, other little gophers, to do what they didn't want to do. In your case, I mean, I know, Sean knows, when you're starting up a business, you are the business. You work 150 hours a week, hopefully not forever, but until things get a bit more streamlined. Sean, how have you managed that? Like, you have quite a few staff, Sean. Like, you have one person doing this, one person doing this.
Well, it's a mix, and I mean, it's a team effort again, because just like with you, Jen, you get hammered with stuff all of a sudden, and you just have to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But going back to your point about the comedians that you hired, we had a big project out in Vancouver, and we had to do a giant demolition of a 20,000 square foot old law office.
And might well call comedians for that.
Yeah. Well, so my younger brother is an actor out in Vancouver. So I said to him, do you have any friends that might want to work? And he's like, I got a pile of friends who are out of work because they're all trying to be actors. So they're just picking up gigs here, there, and everywhere. They would love to come and work. So a little bit of training, but boy, did we have 15 actors that could have put on a show if we needed, but also tear down some walls. So it's just amazing to be able to get people together, even if they're outside of that sort of thing. Because to your point before, Jen, is a lot of people in whatever jobs they are in didn't think at 5 years old, man, I want to pick up garbage or deliver something or whatever it may be. But it's all about making the most of what you're doing and trying to make it fun or at least enjoyable enough that you can sort of get through it, right?
Well, and that's it. Well, I mean, and I had many days, either government, nonprofit, I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I still see the gratitude in the things that I learned. But to balance my lifestyle. So during our, years before COVID, it wasn't a slam dunk either for what we were doing. So we've had police haul our kids out who are putting themselves on fire in our building. Our staff have watched by as, it's kind of insane when I think back on it, that like it was an entire community who have watched my kids grow. One hasn't made it yet, but he's on his way. But my 67, and we couldn't have done it if we weren't entrepreneurs. There's no way I would not hire me. Do you know what I mean? Skill set and everything. There's just no way I would have been that unreliable. And so like for a job like, driving or something. So it's really about having fun where you are. And it doesn't mean we're going to have fun on the job. I mean, I try to have a gopherific day work. And everyone refused, including my husband. Everyone's like, I will quit if you make me say that. So,
I would look forward to that. That was fabulous.
Right. It would be awesome. But no, I have been outvoted. So, I mean, part
Can
of
I
it
start
is
using that? I hope you have a gopherific day. That's fabulous.
right. You guys go with it for sure. You go for it. But I mean, a lot of that came from, when you talk about work culture, it's, there is one little strategy that I do use besides just hire cool people. Is that when I went to this global change leader conference, and there was 22 women from all over the world, right? And so I came in, representing Canada and knowing quite a bit. My education was a little bit higher than the women, but I really learned about a lot from women and the globalization and the impact that I hadn't thought about before, and how we'd always grown up with this paradigm of going into countries and helping them and things like that and telling them what they need. And through this thing, I really learned that we need to listen more, and we need to let people guide us to how they want help. And I sort of mentor and manage the same way. I mean, I know how I want things done. Everyone knows that. But how you get it done, if it's getting done, I don't care. So, Valentine's Day, big, huge day for us, right? I have not been involved in the planning except for approving things. So I've let, all of our Christmas experiences and everything. So we have our project manager, and I'm kind of lucky that I have a Black Belt Sigma as my director of ops. So I can just like, yeah, better. We're good.
Well, you talk about experience. I mean, if you didn't have, unfortunately, gone through the ringer in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, would you be able to be as successful as you are now? Like, no. Those are the skills.
I would shut down for sure in July. If at that point, like I said, we're going to be fine no matter what. If this ended in bankruptcy, which it could have, we would have been fine, because we know how to hustle, because we came from welfare, right? That's when he and I met when I was like 20. We both didn't have jobs, and then I worked at 7-Eleven. That was like my big first job after, at that age. And so, we think back, and I said, no, I'm connected enough, and I'll be able to find something else and hustle. I don't want to. I want to see a good success here, and we will. But it's all that mindset. So no, if I hadn't gone through hardships in my life, and honestly, I think that is one of the issues some people are having pivoting, is because this is the first hardship they've gone through. And it's really hard when you have your life mapped out, and it's like, I think I was on a podcast with Jason Petrianak, and he was talking about, people and sort of where they're going. And I said, government control. And I said, dude, Indigenous people have had government controlling them forever. This is the first time some people have ever experienced it, and thus they don't know what to do. So my hope is people take all of their newfound knowledge to be able to apply it to marginalized, not just Indigenous, but marginalized communities. So I'm hoping that we come up with a better, I'm not seeing that on Facebook, I won't lie, but I'd like at the end of it to be able to see, people are talking about civil liberties and all the things. So I'm seeing also divisions in classes and in, who's essential and who's not. And I've always laughed in a sardonic way is that, okay, if something's not essential, why am I able to deliver it? If it's not essential, it's got to be essential to someone. And in March, we brought a lot of cupcakes around town, right? And I mean, there's no reason they couldn't have been open during that time, or maybe there isn't, but it just seems that delivery being the answer for everything isn't the answer for everything. It's good, we'll deliver for you for sure. But, there's also people, I've done it. At nighttime.
It reminds me of what my father used to tell me years ago. He said, the gold rush? Everybody knows the gold rush. Well, who do you think made money? The miners? No, it was the people who sold shovels.
Yeah.
And in your case, people are buying whatever online, hopefully, at least we like to think supporting local, and then they need to get it into people's hands. So you're that person. But all of those experiences, right? Again, I'm coming back to this because, you could read it in a book, but until you go through it yourself, and have the ups and downs and see what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. I have one of my videos talking about the difference between being an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yes, it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be a business owner. I can't wait to just own some, get some dividends and go to Hawaii like that.
But you hear about people who, the successful businesses out there, whoever, like name XYZ person, you don't hear about the 10 times they failed, probably the 5 times they got bankrupt. It just takes one big success, but they have to go through these growing pains. And if it takes a global pandemic, well, better now than 5 years from now.
When I think if you're younger in your, I think you're younger in your sort of entrepreneurial career, you don't see those failures. So when it happens to you, you think, well, I just ruined this. I did this myself. And then you start to learn from it and be like, oh, wait, okay, so I've got to stumble before I can get to where I need to be. And with the pandemic, it really threw everybody for a loop. And a lot of people, like you said, Jen, really haven't experienced hardship in the sense, certainly not like this. And all of a sudden to get thrown into that when you've been doing everything right, you've been planning just perfectly, you're doing all the right things, but you're failing and there's nothing you can do. It's just such a depressing thought and feeling, and so hard for so many to pivot and try and make the most of it to make it to the other side, right?
Well, I think when we say pivot, because, there's a couple of examples that I've seen that are really good. I mean, so we pivot, I'll talk in a sec, if you don't mind, about what we pivoted to, even though, to save ourselves and things. But I think we have to come to the realization there are some businesses that aren't going to make it. There are some, and I use this example because there's a success story around it. But the inflatable party rental companies, if that is your sole bread and butter, you are in trouble, my friend, right? Because that's like a big business during non-pandemic times. But right now, I just don't see it happening because germs, right? No matter what you do, that's not going to be something that, unless you have it just like for adult purposes and you and your wife, I cannot see any other reason for it, right? So, but I use that example not to put anyone down who has that business, to say there was a business in town who was at that exact situation, looked around and said, we need to pivot, went and found they had other party rental things too. They saw a cotton candy maker, they started a cotton candy business, and now that's what they're doing. And they're in the position that Josh and I were 4 years ago. I guess this is what we're doing now. You use what you have, when you have, how you, that Carla Briones from Freshie, I guess I'm selling groceries now. That's what we're doing, right? Yeah. Shell is on Uber Eats, for goodness sakes. Like, Shell is like, if you want a bag of chips, I'll get someone. I think that's a misuse, by the way, of Deliveries, but it's not great for the environment. But there's all these things. So it's really finding out what you have. So with us, we said, build it and they will come. That was our business strategy. As my lawyer said, is you built up a lot of karma to get where you are, because there's been a lot of things that have helped. But one thing we did have was all this warehouse space that we took to grow. And we ended up realizing, okay, because it would sicken me how many people would be online complaining about the delivery people from Amazon. Mm. And I said, well, what would you do if you were getting paid $2 a box or $3 a box to deliver things? Would you have any incentive for customer service, right? And I said, also, you didn't pay any delivery fee, so you don't want to pay anything, but you want elite service. I said, this is what Amazon has done to our entire world, is we want it free and now, and it cannot happen. So the people, and I've had this talk with many local entrepreneurs. I said, do not offer free shipping. I don't care what your competitors are doing. Charge it and show it as a service beside, and then they will value that. And then the people who are doing it well will do it. It's not that much more, but we charge our people by the hour and all, make sure it's fair wage. But beyond all that is that we had all this warehouse space. We said, well, what if we became a fulfillment center? And that way we could help people compete with same day delivery. And so that's where we're onboarding people right now daily. We're talking with a few local markets as well. And what that is we did it at Christmas time, we did it in June, and we're doing it with the Indigenous solstice. And what it is, someone places an order by 2:00, and we're going to get it there by the end of the day. Amazon can't even do that, right? So we do that. And also, if it needs to be shipped, we ship it. And we offer the pickup service. So we're offering this. Let us take all your logistic needs. That wasn't our plan. I had one car and my husband just get away, go drive something, right? And now we have this warehouse and we're actually able to do logistics for companies so they focus on selling and their growth. That's what they can focus on. And the people who get that, because by the time we reduced the delivery fee, which is significant, because if I don't have to go pick it up and drop it and pick it, and I get the control of it going out, we're able to offer a much better price point on the delivery, so it doesn't even end up being that much. So that's how we've pivoted, is we have added extra services to compete with the big guys. And I think we're going to make not a dent in Amazon, but we're going to make a huge impact on the local entrepreneurs.
Talking about Amazon, I heard on the news today, actually, that the CEO, Jeff Bezos, stepped down.
Bye, baby. Yeah, he's off to space travel. Yeah.
Probably. And they broke down his salary. I don't know if you heard this, a little off topic. $300 million a day.
Yeah. No, they said his salary, he could have given each of his employees around the world $150,000 during the pandemic. So I have zero. And that's it. Like, we want to advertise, for our fulfillment center. We let you go pee. Like, it's like when I say the low service standards there, that's what it is. Because Amazon and other big companies, I'm not going to name because I sort of still work with some of them is they don't actually care about customer service. They care about the bottom line. And so if it's easier to send out a second item because the driver screwed up, so what to them, right? They don't care. And that's why you get someone with a cigarette dangling from his mouth, a dog in handing you your cupcakes. That's what eliminating our business does. And so we're not making it. So we don't have a chariot that we're delivering your cupcakes in. We aren't, but we're certainly not, we actually care about customer service. We want to make sure you get that because we're responsible for it as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. So us, the delivery people, take responsibility once we've taken something into our care. But if you're wanting to, if bottom line is all you care about, that's great. Then you build your pyramid scheme, and some of you will make it, and some of you won't. But,
so having to change, so you still have that huge warehouse, and you turned it into a fulfillment center, which I guess in retrospect was very wise now because you needed the space.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can still barely afford it, but we got a few other things happened that I can't go into, but we're working on some deals right now.
If you can't adjust to the new reality that everybody's facing, and let's say you have. And our heart goes out to the people who have, let's say, those party stores, who just can't do anything else. Like I guess I consider myself in that boat in some regards. As a full-time musician, I've been playing for 35 years. I know so many other professional musicians. That's all they've done their entire lives. They practice 5 hours a day. They play 5 hours a night. That's it.
Yeah.
I woke up one day after 35 years of playing music, middle of March, and I said, nope, music's done. And then I found what everybody in the world is looking for. Well, toilet paper, PPE equipment, and an option to Zoom.
And there you go.
That's what I've done. But for me to wake up and say, "Oh, music's not working out," no problem.
Well, think about in the 70s and 80s when the automotive industry changed, when globalization first started happening, right? Mass layoffs, Nortel here, I think was a thing. I wasn't living here at the time. This is not new where industries have to change. The oil people are going to feel it as soon as we go. Well, they're already feeling it, but they're going to feel it more and more and more, but they're so resistant to the change. And we're not saying adapt it's just, you are not what you do. And I think that's what people, so I'm more of an entrepreneur than I am a logistics specialist. That's why everyone is like, Jen, hands off the board, because you go do what you do. And apparently what I do is take high risks with my family's fortune. We don't have a fortune, and charm my way in and out of things. And that's like my lawyer and I talked about it today, is that without some degree of charm, which I guess I have, that, we hustled our way into this with the vision. So first it was survival, and now it's stabilization. And then now we're talking to the accountant about valuation of a company, which is a word I didn't really know existed until now. And so it's not a story. And here's the thing, you have to be ready to fail too. And also understand that some of the best biggest people have bankrupt companies. We had an investor look at our company. My books were not clean enough yet, and not clean like we're not laundering them, but they're just like things aren't in the right categories. It's just Jenn launders money. Please no. Police will come. Although police are too busy chasing a cheeseburger. Did you see that in Vancouver? There's a whole other, but there was a sting because they saw 100 cheeseburgers going to someone's house, so they knew a party was going to happen there. And I was like, just the warrant. To get the search warrant, they had to talk about the cheeseburgers. And I'm just like, maybe someone was just hungry. No, it was, but anyway. Yeah, I do this and I forget what I was talking about. What was I talking about? I'm not high at all. I'm not. What was I talking about? Seriously. Testing you. Yeah, no one remembers because I go like this. That's just who I am. But anyway, so when we're talking like the pivot in business, we're all doing what we go. You have to be ready to fail. So there's been lots of people who have bankrupt their companies. Oh, this guy, he had a first business that had been bankrupt, and then he sold his second one for 26 million. Because he took the lessons he learned from his first business into his second. And so I think that's also, people have to be ready for do what you have to do. But if you ever say that I'm too good to do something, then I don't feel you're a real entrepreneur. If you're not ready to do what you need to do, and if that means you come drive for me for a while, if that means I have to go clean someone's toilet, whatever it means, it's about keeping your family afloat. It's about doing everything you can, because I'm no longer in the cycle of poverty. I may be, but I'm not right now. And I don't feel I'll ever go there because mentally I'm not there anymore, right? And so the people who are facing these hardships right now, the pivot that they have to make is also a mental one, that they have so much out of their control, but there's got to be something you can control. There's got to be, as Steve Cody always says, there's always a way. And sometimes it's not a pretty way. Sometimes you're like, I guess there's a need for that, right? And then when you're pivoting, I think one of the keys is watch how everyone else is pivoting, because I have seen a lot of people pivot to the same thing. And I know who is the first out with the mask in Ottawa, right? I know who is doing PPE, and I know there are at least 20 people developing websites to help local businesses. And I know all this, and not everyone's going to succeed at it. And there's been, in fact, one of the mistakes or the things we had to do during the pivot process when we discovered we want to do the fulfillment center is, well, when people approach us, let's see what we can do. Right. And we had always bucked restaurant delivery for so many reasons. It's just not something we wanted to put our hat in, but we were approached by someone who had the interface, who really needed good logistics. And I said, well, we'll give it a try. And then we found out 2 other people were doing the same thing. And I said, see you later. Like, now you have to go sell it to everyone. So if you go to market and it's not a needed thing right now, then maybe, and you're going to have to work really hard, then maybe it's not. Like, maybe if I'm, going to start Marbucks or something, well, I'm not going to go up again. There really is one in Belize. It was so cute. But I'm, I'm not a business expert, but I'm a good hustler. And it's, I have so many failed events under my belt, right? Because I've spread myself thin is my problem. But I have to keep true to myself, and I have to perform somewhere. That is something I have to do. I don't really care about getting paid for it. So I write for CBC once every 2 weeks. And now I'm doing the Jenn Hayward show, which is also just helping entrepreneurs, but it's not like polished like your show. It's just me talking to people. And I don't even like have a special mic. I bought a light thingy, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just something I do for me, to help me go, happy. So I think you need that balance as an entrepreneur. I talk a lot, I know, but you need that balance. And when you're pivoting, nothing is forever, right? You're doing what you need to do now. And if you're doing nothing, then you're not, you're online, the opportunities are endless.
So Jenn,
right?
Are you able to talk about the future? Let's put your crystal fedora on and talk about, maybe even small, short term, 3 months, 6 months, say 6 months from now.
The world or me?
You.
Okay.
I mean, the world will probably still be spinning in some way.
Well, aliens invade, and that no. Well, in 3 months, I believe we're going to have stabilization. So I believe by then a couple of announcements will have come through. So like I think I announced earlier, we're delivering for 2 wholesale grocery stores that have now pivoted to online, which is great. So I'll even give them a plug, Cisco at Home and Mama Mia Wholesale Foods. And what they're both, that's Avanti Foods. And they were both restaurant distributors who kind of got hit too, but also found a way to help people, right? Now, do I need 5 kilograms of bacon? Yes. So it's like, it's not for your day to day, but there's a lot of good use. So I see online grocery will be a big thing for us, but also for people. I'm also for us seeing a lot more focus. So you'll be seeing some announcements, but I think fulfillment is where we're going to grow. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're working on a couple of projects with a couple of people. That's all I can say because NDAs are a thing I learned about too. And that really are going to change the face and make even what we do even more efficient and better. And 6 months from now, I'd love to say I've had a vaccine and I'm in Kenya visiting my friend. I highly doubt that's going to happen realistically. But where I would like to see our business is on having our full plan, having our funding from BDC that we need, having ourselves right now as if I started the business today, as if I started taking all my knowledge and all our past and everything, as if I came in and knew all the things I knew and created a plan and moved on and it was following along.
Well, you can't change the past. It's today's the new day.
So I'd rather my motto not be, I guess this is what we're doing now, to, hey, here's the next 4 steps in the plan and here's the scenarios if they don't work
by design.
That we would do instead. So that's what I'd like to be. And I actually, in 3 to 6 months, I plan on having Saturdays and Sundays off. That is the goal. I have put my time in this year. My family is, but like everyone works, all of us work at there. Like during Christmas, my kids were warehousing and they were fulfilling and they were arguing and they were, they were doing all of the things. But it truly is like you, Jared, you know me for a while. You've seen me Facebook and stuff. And when we started, like you'd see our kids in the car. Well, I guess he's suspended from school today, so he's delivering cupcakes, right? And so my kids have more of an attachment to the Go For It logo, but I'm also wanting to see something different. Whereas, say like Carla Briones, I use her as an example. I interviewed her last week, and she's a part of franchises, right? So how do I know to support her? Is she puts herself in front of the business, like she is the brand, right? Yeah. I was talking to other people who they are the brand. That's what's happened with Go For It. But we're almost done. But for now, I would like it. I'm still the brand, but I want to get less the brand and Go For It is more the brand. So it's running like the machine I want it to be. So I have more freedom, I guess. That's what I'd like to see.
Right. What about, there's so much good stuff here. We've been going on for about 45 minutes now, so I guess we'll start wrapping it up. But what about words of wisdom for other entrepreneurs? I know everybody's at a different stage in their career, in their entrepreneurial journey. But if there's, let's say, 3 high-level words of wisdom or phrase, knowledge that you can impart on people, what would it be?
I don't know if it's as encouraging, but I think we all need to remember we made a choice to be entrepreneurs, whether it was to hustle, whether it was we took the risk. And I know it's hard with the government shutdowns there. I know that, but we have to understand if we were making millions right now, we wouldn't be obligated to help anyone with that either. So we have to understand that right now we made a choice. And everything we do from here on out is also a choice. And so there is no use just dwelling in that anger or that angst. And I'm someone who and we've taught our kids this too for mental health issues. You had a bad night. Get up and get showered and do what you can. And some days getting up and get showered is all you can do, but do something productive. If your business is shut down, work on your social media plan. If work for your projections, do everything that you can. So when you are there, you're ready to go. So that would be, the first thing is really that sort of victim mentality, because we're under, but it's a pandemic. You're literally not alone where you are, right? Number 2 is that some of you will make it, some of you won't. I could be one on either end. And that it should, but you're going to be okay. It's just a company.
Well, we haven't talked about the mental health side yet either.
Well, it is. And that's, I think a lot of people that, especially ones who haven't, it's just a company. It's not you. You are part of the company. You have not failed. I mean, I've made failures. I'm not a failure. There's a difference, right? I have effed up a lot in my entire life, right? And if I could sit there dwelling on every mistake I've made, I would not ever get out of bed. But you have to, you know what I mean? Every day is a new day, an opportunity to make it better. And like, I tell my kids every single day, I don't care, I don't care that you had a bad day. And I mean, I care. But don't take it out on me, right? Don't take it out on Facebook. And that would be the third thing. Stop arguing on Facebook. And I have to tell myself that too. But this is an important thing, I think, for any entrepreneur, is that if we are the brand and we are treating people with disrespect on social media, what does that say about our brand?
Absolutely. And people don't see the difference.
If I can't control myself, which has happened, I will just block. You're not my personal friend. There's no reason I should be having an argument with you about the pandemic. And I catch myself because I care. Like, I'm really up in arms about the snowbird thing, right? But I have to let it go and not argue with people, because those are my future customers. And those are people who in their own way are going through their own pain and their own, and it does no good. Education, back and forth, civil debate. Sure, you can't do that on social media.
No, so if I may, Jen, when the pandemic started, because I do a lot of like videos, right? That's content. And one of the videos, I think it's my video when you first log into my YouTube channel, and it's me talking, I think, for 10 minutes about how you could still survive and thrive during COVID as a small business. Yeah, the world's collapsing, everything's shut down, but like you said, working on the stuff behind the scenes, the not sexy stuff. Do your books, do your processes, do some social media stuff. I mean, something I found useful years ago, I knew it's a black hole. Social media, you could get lost in there for days and your business will suffer. At least if at first you're the only person doing the business. Something I found useful way back when is I'm on Facebook. I look at my stuff. I maybe make a couple of posts and I log off. I'm only there to do business. Well, at least that's how I approach Facebook most of the time. And if you don't set limits and you don't have that self-control, that's a scary place to be.
Oh, it is. I'm not allowed to be on Facebook after I've had an edible. That is a family rule. But I only do it like 8:00 at night, but you can see how my brain works. You have to shut this down, right? And I'm not supposed to drink, apparently. So that is one of the things for sure. And it always comes to that, like you said, like it is a mindset and it's hard, of looking at things gratefully during a pandemic. But I remember one day, and no one agreed with me, but that's fine. But I saw in a mom's group, and it was the first day of the snowfall that came, and everyone was like, F it, we're going outside, right? And I said, you know what? The kids are not going to remember all the negative things. They're going to remember that time with mom and dad. And I think someone said, like, there's a meme out there or something, is that like, we're like, we have to spend every day at home. And our dog's like, yay, my owner's home every day, right? And it's just, how can you shift it? And I'm no Pollyanna, I don't bitch about anything, right? But it really is, when it comes down to it, even here, I could have had a bad day. The old Jen would have blew you off. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been like, oh, now I got to talk. But I'm like, I have a person to talk to who's not my family. It's great, right? Like, you have to, the mindset, I think, is everything. And it takes, I don't know what. I mean, maybe it takes.
You've had that passion since the first day I met you. It doesn't matter if you're talking about something good or the anti-maskers, whatever. It's, you're enthusiastic, you believe in what you do. And that's what comes across. That's what other people buy into.
And I think that's it. And I think that don't argue, but also be authentic, right? And that's where a lot of people were like, things were perfect and now they're not. And that's BS. No one's life was perfect, right? But that's someone's narrative. And my narrative has always been to be real. Now I've cleaned it up a bit. But when you start as a CEO and you have a book called Jesus Loves a Crazy Horny Feminist, you can't hide from that. And so in a way, I feel more free. And I've had work with FedEx. I've had work with lots of people who could Google me at any time and be like, all right, but can she deliver? And she does, right? So in the end, just be yourself. Unless you're a racist, then maybe work on that, right? So that's my advice. Be authentic unless you're a racist.
You know, it's so funny. People talk about, deliver, you got to deliver, but you actually walk the walk in every sense.
Thank you. You literally deliver. Well, and that's a little secret, a Gopher secret we have. It's not that we don't make mistakes. It's that we have a policy that at any time, one, any staff on their way home will take a package if something's gone rogue. Sure. And two, at any time, if we're overwhelmed, a manager gets on the road. So it doesn't matter who you are, unless we have one driver without a driver's license. I said, you are always here. But for everyone else, no one is too good to go on the road. It's hard for me because I get 20 emails and calls a day and I'm not very efficient anymore, but it also is good. It feels good to be out there and to do that when it's not cold out. That's the days that I like to pick, but I think that's where, when we talk about having fun, it's making sure when you deliver that it's not a huge, and we've had stressful days, right? But then you're a team and we got a bottle of wine ready to go after Valentine's Day. We're all taking this much because, we have to drive and after, but still have to get home and we don't want to encourage anything negative. But as a team, it's like something you want to strive. You've set a goal, you've worked on it, and nurturing that team. My team would do anything, right? I've never seen a team this strong. And I mean that, just the wheels are all going. And it's the first time that I've just had that freedom to be Jen and be a leader instead of all the doer. And so it's nice to have that trust in people. And I don't know if I would have gotten here non-COVID, but I think COVID forced me to go through a lot of extra work, some ups and downs. And we are one of the people who could probably say definitively that we might have gone bankrupt without COVID because we were on the down because of all the mistakes, but we took it. And we're not like, yeah, COVID helped us. That's not it. I would have been okay. What we say is that for every good thing that comes, we're going to pay it forward. We got 4 new clients yesterday. I signed up for 2 charitable endeavors because, that's who we are. That's who I am as a person. And we actually have charities saying no, meaning they come to us and they're like, no, we want to pay you. You guys have done great work with all these things. And we have a budget for this. Let us pay you. And it's very funny, So we're a little more frugal that way. But when good things come, we're sharing it. We pay a fair wage. Do that, right? Those are and it's not great. It's just a fair wage for what we're doing. I'd love to be able to do more. And it's the little things. And if you have gratitude every day, that you'll spark that with your staff. Like I said, our dispatchers, our director, everyone want success for this. And it's partly because they love the Haywards, but it's also now become bigger than the Haywards. And that's where we want it to go. We don't want people to do this because they pity us, right? We want them to do this because they want to be part of something great. Sure. And that's, I guess on ending on all of that, that's why, and I don't get to say it very much. And Sean said at the beginning, to be the positivity is that I'm seeing there's all that bad out there, but I'm seeing these great stories and these great collaborations, and I'm seeing the people who are doing whatever they can, and whether they make it or not, they're going to make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right? That's the purpose of this podcast, is to offer inspiration from other community business leaders, to hear how they're doing it. The enthusiasm in your voice, I just love it. It's fantastic. Sean, do you have any closing discussions you'd like to chat about?
No, just going back to the whole sort of drasticness of this pandemic. I mean, really looking at it from an entrepreneur's perspective, a lot of people haven't had any hardship and they went from 0 to 100. So it wasn't just a little bit of hardship, it was the whole thing. So you've had to deal with this monumental disaster, and hopefully this is the only time in our lifetime that we deal with such a thing. But if you can get through this, I think you can get through a lot. And if it, like in your scenario, turns your focus or makes you decide that I'm going in the wrong direction. This is not what I want for my life. I've been pounding this same thing for a decade. It's not working. So now's the time to cut and do something else. And down the road on the other side, you'll be so much happier, because again, you have to do what's right for you, yourself and your happiness and all that first, because you can be rich and miserable all you want. But I mean, really, it comes down to your quality of life, right?
This is a great opportunity to reset. I don't want to say the great reset, but this is a good opportunity to evaluate yourself in your life and what you want truly out of life. I don't need millions of dollars. I'd like them, but I don't need them. But I want a mechanism to do good in the world, right? I want to be able to go visit my friends in Kenya. I'm okay to say that now, that's why I want profit for those things. And that's why sometimes I got to say no sometimes. And I have to be a little, yeah, you do have to pay your bill, send my husband around. He's a big guy. You got to do it all with humor, Sean and Jared. You have to laugh. And that's what I really miss. We're lucky because we're a team, and a lot of entrepreneurs are more isolated. So I guess I forgot that words of wisdom is reach out. When we were at our lowest, I was part of I'm on a networking group, and I said, guys, it's not good. It is not good. I don't know if we're going to make it. I'm going to keep trying. And that's what my lawyer said. You have a lot of karma in your bank. Trust me. And people actually said, Jen, can I help you with this? Can I help you? And I didn't get any big referrals or anything, but that kindness got me through. And so if you know me and you're having a tough time, call me. I do this with our customers all the time. Now I have even more time for it because, your success is my success. So, let's help you sell more cotton candy or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jen. On behalf of Sean Cochran from TCC Canada, myself, Jared Goldsmith from eSAX, I want to thank our guest speaker, Jenn Hayward, from the CEO of Gopher Deliveries. Jen, thanks so much. And I hope wishing you all a Gopherific day.
Gopherific. We did it. We did it. Suck it, Hayward. That's my husband. Thanks, guys, so much. I can't wait to watch this. And I definitely am going to follow your podcast. This is a great initiative. Spread some positivity. Good job.
Absolutely.
Fellas.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay.